Cyber Innovations in the Private Sector highlights case studies and the latest industry trends from private vendors. Explore innovative solutions, success stories, and exclusive insights from industry leaders. Stay ahead with the cutting-edge developments driving the industry forward.
As part of the NIS 360 Special Report, CyberSec TV has engaged with leading experts across several critical sectors impacted by NIS2. Today, we turn our focus to telecommunications and satellite services, sectors that form the backbone of modern digital infrastructure. Joining us is Gustavo Conte from SecurityGen to discuss the most pressing cybersecurity challenges in these fields, from cross-border interdependencies to emerging space-based threats, and how we can strengthen resilience and operational.
So about NIS 360, right, it's really a huge survey. It has increased a lot on the broader, it has broadened a lot from the previous vision that ENISA has built for network infrastructure security. This year, as per last year from the establishment of NIS 2 directive, it's, let's say, several other entities and fields have been added to this survey. So it's not a matter of regulating things, right? NIS 360 is measuring, is considering what is let's say, expected, and benchmarking around these, let's say, very different verticals. So if you look on this year, you see lots of new areas being measured, and I really congratulate ENISA on that, because it's very hard to get all this information together, consolidate, and benchmark it against, let's say, very different requirements. But this is the main difference. And of course, it sets a guideline for the coming years for the evolution of each vertical. So that is, let's say, really appreciated from all of us, because it shows which are the more vulnerable, less vulnerable verticals, but also which are the weak points of each one. So one of the big aims of NIS 360 is really about harmonizing these very different verticals, right? So if I consider that they are not the same age, they are not being, let's say, considered and used by mass population for the same amount of time. Let's say if I talk about telecommunications, we have mobile telecommunications for 50 years, GSM over 30 already. Then you go satellite, you go space, and this is not on the day-to-day, right? Very few services were based on satellite. So when you try to compare those, it's a humongous task, but it's much relevant because they have never been so close to each other. So if you look at mobile communications, they are now basing lots of its infrastructure on satellite. So last mile, you need to cover some distance regions, etc. Satellite costs, satellite speeds, all has changed. This is a game changer for the mobile communications, also for fixed telecommunications. So this increase the relevance and criticality of satellite for this year. But if you compare maturity, they are not on the same level. Telecoms has been regulated for decades. Telecoms has been on the NIS directive first version on 2016. So we're talking about almost 9 years of being under, let's say, lawful regulation in Europe. And last year, we included space. So they cannot have the same maturity level. It's not expected. But someone must do this comparison and assure they will be converging to the same maturity level. This is how things should go. So the relevance, although it's very difficult to really, let's say, establish this comparison, it must be done, because we must increase on every vertical and achieve, let's say, expected and reasonable security level. If you consider right now, telco domain is much more dependent on satellites, right? Because in the past, it was just for remote implementations, just for single, let's say, very specific covers. Oh, I have some islands to cover, I will use satellite. But as technology advances, as let's say you want to have ubiquitous coverage, right? So you start going to like direct to mobile, direct to satellite. You can connect like 5G, 6G phones. They will be resourcing to satellites for 100% of coverage. So this kind of intertwin is very relevant. NIS 360 shows that satellite is not yet at the same level of traditional telecom. This can be easily justified because it's being just included on the list, just increased criticality, and it will help both, let's say, both verticals to evolve and to converge into a better final protection to the subscribers. So I can try, if I may try to forecast the impact of NIS 360 of this rating of both criticality and maturity for space on the coming years, I would say that space is being, let's say, criticality raised to the top and almost reaching for the critical infrastructure like telco, like energy, etc. But it shows a bad picture on the overall maturity. So I expect regulations to increase because it's shown that there's no strong regulation for satellite yet. It's all measured. It's all detailed on the report. I recommend reading the report. And not only because of this, but also the risk methodologies, vulnerability management is not mature. This is very risky for anyone because you're not measuring. Sometimes you measure very well, you don't implement. You have a gap that you know, but on satellite, gaps are now unknown. So this should increase investments. So first of all, to map those vulnerabilities and then to solve them, to improve them. So I expect these investments to grow over the next 5 years and expect satellite to rise and shine for the next NIS 360 report. Of course, it will demand some investment, and it's a smart investment, right? Several solutions that you can use and you can inherit from, let's say, corporate enterprise cybersecurity into telco. They cannot be applied to satellites. You don't have the same processing capacity. You don't have have a lot of energy constraints, etc. So it will, let's say, become a new segment of cybersecurity because you need to implement it in a very, very small form field, and you must be smart on doing so. So I expect it to increase, of course. So there are several, let's say, on the maturity side, you will see that NIS 360 has covered several different fields. And of course, regulation is one, risk management is another. But one thing that's common in both telecom and satellite and space segment is that operational readiness scored lower on both, right? So what we see is that the risks are better known on the telco side, and still, when you compare on the operational readiness, they are pretty much benchmarking the same. So what's the gap? What do I see? We know in telco what to do. We know what good looks like, and we are, let's say, prepared to monitor. But on the response, on the instant response, there is a gap. This is being not, let's say, stated by a single entity. This is a combined vision of both the operators, regulators, any, let's say, any surveyed entities on this massive work of NIS 360. On space, of course, they are not that well prepared. So you see, every telco operator, they have a SOC, they have a strong monitoring. Sometimes on the response, they are not achieving the right timing. And timing is critical for both verticals, for both space and telco. Timing is the critical, as NIS 360 points out. Dependency on subscribers, on the end users, on the population, on those right now is very high, right? You drive somewhere, you're using GPS, you're using satellite. You drive somewhere, you need your mobile coverage to give you the maps, to give you traffic conditions, etc. So it's no longer, let's say, something you can split. And of course, you must be aware that if you have a downtime of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, you're impacting a full city. This is the main gap I see on incident response, is response time. We know what to do, so how to solve it? What if someone attacks me? What if I have some unavailability on systems? What is the plan? How resilient we are. For satellite, we must, of course, take in consideration Earth resiliency as well, right? So we're not talking only, the small processes running on low Earth orbit, medium orbit, high orbit. We're talking about all the infrastructure for satellite that remains on Earth. And this may be some huge sites with huge antennas, but also those small modems that we have nowadays with low Earth orbits, and they're being proven already vulnerable. So this is let's say, the challenge we see nowadays, to build some resiliency, of course, to avoid interference, lots of things to do. But what if something happened? What if the attack has been successful? What to do? What's the resilience? Where to move from it? This is the gap from both. It's a common threat on both sides. So when I focus especially in telco, where we are acting, so SecurityGen is helping mobile operators to increase their security levels, and we see a clear message on this 360 on where is the gap, right? So ENISA has shown that, okay, you have balanced vision on risk management. You collaborate, which is very relevant. So mobile operators, they are not isolated. They collaborate a lot. They exchange a lot of information on common threats. They act together when going to the government and solving some national issues, right? So this is the good part. Any threat from one mobile operator applies to others in the same region, the same country, but across Europe as well. So this interchange of information is already in place and recognized, but the operational gap is still present. So for the 4 measures of maturity, ENISA points out that the operation readiness is the, let's say, less scored across operators and across countries. That's exactly where we enter. So in some operators, we already established like smart SOCs, not only monitoring service availability, but monitoring security threats. Gets these operators into speed and to be fast responding to some cyber incidents. So we not only equip them with services and products, but we also train them. We recently been performing some cyber drills in some operators in the region, and those are just to prepare their teams. So this is I believe, which will impact, hopefully so, next measurement for NIST 360. Operators should be more ready to respond to any instance, must have information available in a matter of seconds or even a minute, and react to that. So this is where we are acting, and luckily it will show up on next measurement. I really appreciate this vision that NIST 360 provides us, because we're not working to set up. This is not about compliancy. This is not about getting certification. This is not about any certification for security, right? This is about growth and improvement in security. So NIST 360's proposal is to keep measuring, and this is very relevant. So it's very relevant and important that you get NIST 360 running, and not only setting a measurement or expected for qualifying for anything or certifying companies. This is not the goal. The goal is to improve overall security. So when you measure, when you regulate, you see the results. 2016, we have NIST established. 2019, we have the EU toolbox for 5G. They have a huge meeting. And now 6 years from it, we see maturity level on the telecommunications is already considerably high. So this is the impact on the long run. So now they introduced space. I expect the space to flourish on the coming 5 years to see the same growth. But I also expect telecoms to keep their current status and improve on the black spots, which is right now the operation readiness. So that's about it. It's not about compliance. It's not about getting a quality CEO stamp for you. It's about helping the markets, helping the verticals to increase, and we are focused on helping every operator to do so.